All right, this is Jack Hopkins, and welcome to the Jack Hopkins Show podcast. Today, I have a man with me that I'm very excited to have, and this has all happened so quickly. I essentially just met this gentleman not that long ago, and he messaged me with an idea that he had a few days ago, just looking for some feedback. I looked at it and I said, "This is brilliant. This is brilliant. Let do it, do it." And I almost said, "Let's do it." For the "let's do it" part, it just involved my support and my willingness to promote it, because I want to stress this in the beginning. I'm not involved with this at all. I'm not getting any financial compensation for it. I just recognize the timeliness and the need for what Mr. Pat Hicks is going to share with us today. And I said, I'm all in. I will help you in any way possible. So welcome to the show, Pat.
Thank you. It's very nice to be here. And by the way, when you did that, I showed it, and that was really the spark that took it to the next level. So I can't thank you enough.
Oh, fantastic. Well, I just knew. I thought, wow, that what was speaking to me as much as the brilliance of this concept that you had was, we are not in the standard operating time frame with things. Right. We are in a right now, urgent, if it's good, move on it. And it's not one of those things where you can take weeks and go to the drawing board and come back. It's act. And so I really wanted to give my encouragement to, this is needed now. So tell us a little bit about what we've been building up here for people, to the excitement.
Okay. Yeah. So I'm just a guy. I'm a volunteer. If you went to the dictionary and looked up nobody, you'd see my picture there, but I watched January 6th, and I pounded on the arm of the couch, and, wept in rage like so many other people. And when I got to get up. So I got up and I started volunteering. My precinct already had a precinct chair, and Dallas County Democrats has a program where you can adopt a precinct. So I adopted the one right beside me, and all the things that you normally do, postcards, telephone, block walking on it, which led to being a delegate to the state convention, which led to an election judge, which led to just you're involved. You just know people. And so the Dallas Democratic Party recently got a grant program, and they wanted to target low-propensity voters. So what does that mean? Well, they vote, but they're not regular voters. Maybe they would lean Democrat. Let's contact them. So with that money, I went to them, knowing that I was there, and said, hey, I can put together like 4 precincts right around my house. Maybe we could do something. And they said, okay, all right. Well, before, it took about that long, and it was 42 precincts in our area.
Wow.
And they reached out with an invite and we offered free pizza. There will be no speeches. This is a social event. We're just going to meet and greet your neighbors and the candidates. And we had 2 House, federal House, U.S. House representative candidates, 2 state representative candidates, appellate judges, on and on and on, that agreed to come, and it's a social, free pizza and beer. So we were headed that way. And by the way, Powered by People, Beto O'Rourke's group, they came forward and said, hey, I tell you what, after the invites are sent out, we'll send phone calls. We'll call the people and see if we can get it. So, and there's several things about that event that were successful, and we'll talk about them in a second. But so about a week before that happened, which means it's about 2 weeks ago, I took a break from laying in bed at night, looking up at the fan and going, gosh, I hope somebody shows this thing. I don't want to get a party and nobody comes.
Right.
I'm laying there and I'm thinking about that 70% of Americans do not know what Project 2025 is. And the vast majority, once they understand what's in it, their first reaction is, hell no. Are you kidding me? No, this is no. And they'll tend at that point to want to take action and actually vote. So I had this thought and I called up, this is so grassroots and I want to emphasize this. So I called up another volunteer. Hey, Dorini, hey, I have this thought. Can you make a logo? Yeah, I can do that. That's the logo that you see on those yard signs. We started talking to different people. Hey, you need seed money? Well, it wouldn't hurt. Yeah, sure. Guy that does websites. At that point, you had said, I think this is great. Okay, all right. Yeah, let's go. And we have a union sign maker that helps us. You want a union? Yeah, I do. Okay. And things. Now, I make this sound like, and lastly, is there someone that can ship all this to a fulfillment center? And I make this sound like, well, everything just felt. It was like, I told my friend today, it was like wrestling a greased watermelon in a mud pit. I mean, it was exhausting.
Yeah.
I followed you, and I know that basically folks came to you and said, you got a great idea and a good voice. And if you want to, but you're going to have to go full time if you really want to make a difference. And that's what this turned into from dawn till dusk. Anyway, so we start putting this together and we're thinking, okay, one, how do we get this to reach the most people and to teach people, educate them on what this horrible Project 2025 is? So we came up with a QR code that you can put on the sign and it will scan and it will take you to the website where there's information. And of course, to buy another sign, because we were hoping that people would say, I see this sign in your yard. What is Project 2025? So now, let me take a break. We'll go back to this event that we're planning. And finally, the night of the event, it shows up. And by that time, I've had a few signs made up on paper. I've literally printed them out on paper on the printer. And I take them around. And anyway, the event starts and we end up having about 100 people, which in our world, that was a major success.
Absolutely.
So all night long, come here, meet your constituents. Here's your candidate for United States Congress. And people, you really are a real person and I can talk to you. All night long, I'm seeing that interaction. By the end of the night, we have people volunteering for precincts. We have people volunteering to adopt a precinct. We had, you could feel the energy. You felt it. You knew what was there. People made connections. The candidates were going, this was great. And I didn't have to make a speech. And this was really the way it all worked. And I thought, this is what I want for this sign. This is the whole purpose. Get people talking. Once they talk, they understand what's at stake here. So at that point, we finally were able to get, so it took 2 weeks from the time that thought popped into my head. Yesterday on Twitter, I launched this website live. We have the sign, we have the fulfillment center, we have the website with the pricing, we have it all integrated, and we're now selling signs like crazy. And
nice.
This morning I have a breakfast with guys that I've been going to for, I don't want to say a long time, every Thursday morning. And after breakfast, I gave a sign to one of the guys, and I said, you please put it up in your yard if you can. And I was getting in the car, and out of the corner of my eye, I noticed that he had struck up a conversation with the guy next to him as he's putting the sign in the trunk. And I get in the car, and thankfully, I sat there for a second looking at my phone, and he runs up and he's like, open the door, get out. he goes, this guy, as I'm putting this in, the guy goes, hey, what is Project 2025? And he goes, well, it's this really bad idea for government that they're going to take over. And here, scan this QR code, and it'll take you to the website, and it'll tell you all about it. And if you want one of these signs, you can get them there too. I went, great, I will. And he scans the code. And I'm like, I almost got weak in the knees because I'm going, this is exactly what I had in mind. This is
Right.
exactly. So now back to, we're producing all these signs and we're going, okay, we've got to give back on this. We've got to figure out a way to give back to make this worthwhile. So what we came up with, if you're a county party, if you're a county, or if you're a club, or any of those types of organizations that have an EIN associated with them, that you're working for Democrats, we'll make a separate code and make those one price. And then if anybody buys one off of their QR code, then we're going to turn around and give them $5 back so that we can help. We're going to rebate back to them to help them get money, either to buy more signs or to help their other programs or whatever we can do. So the signs are $20. So basically we're giving 25% back to the clubs and organizations and county parties.
Nice. Right.
So we went out last night and we had a pretty good start. And today my phone's kind of blowing up. And today we had a lady from one of the swing states that I spoke with, and she said, well, what if my party buys 250 and we just give them out? Now, my thinking on this is that 7,000 to 10,000 votes in the presidential election can sway the election in some states.
Yes.
Just as few votes as that. Well, I don't have delusions of grandeur, but I'm looking at this thing going, could that be a part of that 7,000 or 10,000 votes where somebody looks at a 2025, Project 2025 manifesto and goes, oh my God, no, I've got to go vote. That's the whole concept of this. And if they're in every state in the union, hopefully, and by the way, we looked this morning, I didn't count them, but we are from Oregon to Florida in one night.
Oh, wow. Nice.
So
I love it that, and we talked a little bit about this before we actually started the podcast, about that we both recognize, me on the side of giving you feedback, you on the end of being the one that came up with the idea and moving on it. We both recognized this sense of urgency. Yes. That this is not a regular period in our history where you've got the time block to be able to do things in the standard way, where you conceive the idea and then you do some brainstorming and you do all of this stuff and go through it in phases. We are in crunch time, and you recognize, and I did as well, that if it's a good idea, you need to move now. And that's exactly what you did. And so now, within a very short period of time, we have this. And you said something to me, Pat, that really excited me about this whole thing. You said this is something that will be evolving quickly. It will be a process in motion. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, we're not a pack, and we're not. It's this is so grassroots. I can't say it enough times. And so, even today, for example, a friend of mine said, "Hey, look and see if no Project 2025.vote is available." Sure enough, it was. Another person has looked at the logo. That's a graphic designer for 30 years. Hey, let me help you with this a little bit. Different things this is going to continue to evolve. There may be, I hope not, if there's a problem with fulfilling an order or something, my phone number is on the website.
Fantastic.
I'm kind of leading with my chin here, but we don't want a problem. So this thing is, yes, it's continuing to evolve, and I'm sure it will evolve some more. I told someone the other day, our test market, by the way, I'm interrupting myself. Our test marketing on that was that event that night. And out of
Yes.
100 people, we got close to 20 that signed up and said, yes, I want to sign. And I went,
Nice.
okay, uh, let's go
Right.
with it. So
Right.
um, uh, th- uh, that's kind of, the process that's been going on, and I'm assuming it's going to continue.
Fantastic. And you are doing everything that you can, even in crunch time, to make things as simple as possible. I mean, no project 2025 dot vote.
That's it.
I mean, that if that doesn't stick in someone's mind, and I'll say it again, no project 2025 dot vote. Forget about the .com. It's dot vote. No project
Mhm.
2025 dot vote. Uh, where do you see yourself in the coming days going with this in terms of any additional marketing? And how can people who might be watching this podcast where we're talking about this, what kind of help do you need and can you use?
I think that you have to talk to people. And yes, I've put this out on Twitter. And yes, the response has been wonderful. And I really appreciate it. It is only by doing exactly what we're doing right here, in my opinion,
Yes.
that that this starts to take hold. So who can I talk to? I'll talk to anybody about this if they'll let me tell my story, because
Right.
I think that it is so. This is what happens all over the country, all day, every day, is that people make a connection to a good idea or to whatever it is, and they are willing to do what it takes to make a difference. And that's all
Yes.
we're trying to do. What can we do to make a difference?
Yes.
I think there in the last close to 300 years, because 1776, there were years that led up to 1776. And so twice in the past 300 years, basically, Americans stepped into the breach and they did what people thought would be impossible. And that is one thing. The first thing, they started the country, they did the War of Independence. And then the second time was a civil war to save the country. Both times they
Yes.
made it and they saved it. And here we are at this point in history, in our country's history, and in this generational chance to make a difference, to say, because we literally, it's an existential threat to democracy in our country. If we're not,
Indeed, it is. And Pat, I share this brief story. My father is 82 years old, lifelong Republican, is not voting for Trump and will be voting for Biden. That was already established. But when I told him about Project 2025, not that long ago,
Mhm.
he was dumbfounded. He had heard nothing about it. Here's a guy who, look, he's not voting for Biden, but let's face it, when you've been a Republican many years as he has been, you still are, your friends are Republicans. You have that circle. You hear things, and yet Project 2025 had never come up. And once he looked and saw what was in
Mhm.
Project 2025, he couldn't believe it. So
Yeah.
I think if anything, I know I've been guilty of it this year, this election season. Not that there shouldn't be an emphasis on Trump, but I think too much emphasis has been placed on Trump and not enough on Project 2025. Because what I
Mhm.
think a lot of people don't understand is that if something happened to Trump today, there's still Project 2025 and all of the collaborators.
Absolutely. When the War of Independence was fought, they fought it to, and common sense. You remember the pamphlet that went out that
Yes.
uh, that went out right when Washington crossed the Delaware and made this save the revolution, this miracle. And the whole idea of common sense was to get out from under the control of a monarch. So they wanted only the rule of law and to be free to make choices, and a monarch didn't do that. On July 1st of this year, the Republican Supreme Court established a monarchy again. They
Yes.
absolutely made it possible for there to be a king. They made it legal to be a king. But what people have to understand is that in conjunction with that, this is the operational arm of installing a monarch. This is taking over the government so that that monarch, they're swearing allegiance. Generals are to swear allegiance to that monarch, in this case, Trump, president,
Yes.
but it's a monarch. And so this operational arm of the takeover of our government, that's what Project 2025 is. It's the
And
blueprint to...
I like how you describe that. And I'd like everybody to take just a moment and really let those words sink in. Monarch. Allegiance to monarch.
Mm-hmm.
That's something very visceral. That's something that hits you in places that normal campaign seasons don't have that kind of material to hit you there.
True.
That's what Project 2025 is. It's one of those things that hits you in that place that nothing else ever touches.
Mm-hmm.
And
Mm-hmm.
it's a deeply, deeply concerning thing. Can you talk a little bit? I know it's very simple in design, but can you give people just a visual real quick of what the art sign design is?
Oh, yes. We've all seen the circle with a line through it saying no to whatever.
Yes.
And it's that circle with the line through it, and it simply says no Project 2025 across it. And then
Yes.
the QR code for info and to buy it. That's it.
And again, the brilliance of that, Pat, because we are in an age where people are in information overload. And so the more simplistic and the more symbolic we can make something to get their attention, but to also identify what it's about with 2 or 3 words.
Yeah.
That's powerful. And we all know, as you stated, we all know what that red circle with a red line going through whatever's behind it means.
Yeah.
We don't have to think about it. It's instant processing. So
Right.
I think the concept design, I think the QR code, I think the thoughts you have as it evolves, I think all of that was brilliant. The most brilliant thing you did was act on it. And that's where most great ideas die. Is people have the great idea, but it stays a great idea and nothing ever happens. And you took action. And you said, that in a state, 5,000 to 7,000 votes can decide.
Yes. Yes. Well, as you correctly pointed out, it is urgent. This is a time of crisis. This
It is.
truly is. Our backs are to the wall. This is you're storming the beach, or whatever euphemism you want to create. It's true. These are dark times, and we've got to do what we can. Teddy Roosevelt said, "Do what you can with what you have where you are." And
Absolutely.
that's exactly the concept here.
It is. So I would like to say to anybody watching to this, listening to this, let's go with that phrase, do what you can with what you have where you are. Look, there are only so many things those of us with limited resources that don't have hundreds of thousands or millions of dollars lying around to be able to do something huge. And yet I would argue that collectively we can do all kinds of things in a huge way by doing what we can with what we have where we are. And I see a marvelous tool in terms of what we have is to get one of these No Project 2025 signs at noproject2025.vote and stick it in the yard and tell other people about it. one thing, Pat, you said that I can't emphasize enough, it's the conversations.
Yeah.
It's talking. It's
Mhm.
communicating. And that parking lot example you gave is so great. A guy asked one simple question.
Yeah. Yeah.
What's Project 2025?
Yeah. I
Click.
I got weak in the knees. I literally
Yes.
did. I'm like, this is, oh my God, he just validated everything.
Right. So is there anything they need to know in terms of where to go other than no Project 2025.vote?
No, it's that simple. Just go there. That's where there's info about Project 2025, of course. If someone doesn't know, you can say, well, go there. They've got info on it.
Great.
And then, of course, the idea is, pardon me, just like you just said, you start putting those in yard signs around, and people are going to start talking. What is this? What happened? What are the
Right.
why are these signs out? And
Right.
that's the only way I see to get the word out. Not
And if
the
somebody,
only way, but as you correctly pointed out, I think people are tuning out. I think they're
right.
overwhelmed with information overload and
Yes.
election overload and who's going to be at the top of the ticket. And I'm like you, I'll vote for a stick of celery, man. I don't care what
Right.
it is. We can't let Project 2025 succeed.
Spot on. And if people want to follow you on Twitter, what's your Twitter name?
JP Hicks. That's it.
JP Hicks. That's
JP
I love simple. You're a guy that's always thinking simple. That's great.
Well, I
JP
don't know about
Hicks.
that. Occasionally, a little simple thought will slip through it.
Well, Pat, listen, thank you for giving me the opportunity to interview you, because I've been all about this since the evening you sent this idea and said, Jack, what do you think of this? And we know where it went from there. It was instantaneous. And I said, I want to help you any way I can. So if you need me at any juncture from here on out to the election, I'm one message away and we'll do it.
Oh my gosh, thank you so much. That means so much to me. I reached out to several other accounts who will remain nameless, and you were the only one that reached back and said, "You bet, let's go." So
I'm glad I did.
man,
Well, Pat,
handshake.
we'll
across
talk. Yes, absolutely. Pat, we'll be in contact. We'll talk again soon.
Yeah.
One last time for people, no Project 2025.vote. Go there now, check it out, get one, tell other people about it, get 5 and tell other people about it. Pat, thank you.
Thank
and I
you.
will talk to you again soon.
Okay, you bet. Look forward to it.